the strength of having a vision series or a vision Sunday is that you have to reflect on what is our vision. And you typically then have to go through some sort of leadership process with your elders, with your team, with your key volunteers, with your core of your church to buy into that. And it forces you to articulate it clearly, right? So that's the advantage of it. Is a lot of times I think pastors can think, yeah, well, I kind of more or less know what my vision is, but okay, well, what is it? And so being able to say, our vision is to be a community of people that has soft hearts and steel spines. Boom, there it is. Well, whether that's the right vision or not isn't my point. The point is the ability to articulate it is really valuable if you do like a vision Sunday or a vision series. On the other hand, the weakness is you can feel like you just got it all out there and you never have to talk about it again. And the reality is a bunch of people weren't there that Sunday. A bunch of people were sick. A bunch of people were out of town. A bunch of people, and even if you did it in the 3 or 4, or 5 or however many week series, you don't want to stop dripping it throughout. So I think it's good to do both. I think it's wonderful to have a vision Sunday or a vision series. Anytime someone's doing a vision or a building or a resource initiative where they're raising money, it's always vision related. And those are really helpful. But we just can't count on that one Sunday to do the work that really should find its way, flavoring and trickling and dripping through lots of our preaching.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I first came across this notion of like dripping the vision, I think in a Larry Osborne book years and years ago.
Larry doesn't think vision Sundays are good ideas for that reason. He thinks they should drip throughout. Yeah,
exactly. And he spoke my language.
I think you can do both.
Yeah. He talked about how it's like, like a percolator dripping water into coffee beans. That is kind of drip, 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 drip is better than like a once-off blast.
Yeah, and I think a once-off blast and a drip is even better. So,
okay.
And at the same time, Mike, I don't feel a burden. Like I don't have to have a vision Sunday every year, But if you just sense as a leader and in plurality and with your leaders and your elders, like, hey, we really need to clarify and cast our vision, then do it. But also keep dripping it.
Yeah. Well, there is a coffee drink. It's called the Black Eye, where it's a drip coffee. It's like it's gone, but then there's a shot of espresso poured in.
Oh man,
yeah,
that sounds amazing.
Let's go for the Black Eye.
Yeah.
I suppose maybe I jumped straight into this a bit too early. Maybe to back up a little bit, like what is your understanding of a church vision? Not everyone's even bought in that it's a good thing to have it all. So when you're talking about vision, what's vision mean to you?
Yeah, so what I would say, Mike, is we don't get to pick our mission. Jesus picked that, right? The Great Commission, Matthew 28, is the mission, right? Like it's make disciples. And that's the mission. So I don't get to pick that. To me, the vision is how might God want that mission to flesh out here in this context, in this community, among us, with the gifts and the resources and the stewardship and the responsibility we have, right? And so I think the mission is predetermined. We don't get to pick that. We don't go on an elder retreat and go, what's our mission? We might go on an elder retreat and say, okay, we're called to make disciples. What's our specific contribution to that? Because we're not the only church in the world. We're not the only church in our community. We are one little part of a bigger thing. And so we have a particular role to play based on the gifts God's put in us. Now, I would say that the scriptures then should direct and shape and restrain that vision, right? The scriptures should direct it. We shouldn't be doing things that are contrary to the scriptures, but actually are flowing out of the scriptures. They should be shaped and contoured and should be restrained by the vision. There's things that we might get real excited about and we might think, boy, we really ought to, blah, 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 that the scriptures might say, not so fast. So I just don't agree. Sometimes people will say, hey, we're called to preach the word, not cast the vision. And I would say, well, yeah, but also in a sense, preaching is casting a vision. It is saying, here's how you should think about the world. Here's how you should think about God. Here's how you should think about the way to live your life. Here's how you should read the scriptures. It is casting a vision. And so I just think it's inevitable. And it's just important that the scriptures conform and shape the way we do it.
Yeah. And how does a church vision function or work? You mentioned that preaching is casting the vision. but like, let's say a church vision statement or a church vision, it's saying like, this is how we want to obey Jesus in this community at this time.
Yeah, I loved the idea behind the book years ago from Wilma Mancini called Church Unique, where it was essentially saying, what's your church do better than 10,000 other churches? And now what I don't love about that is the competitive kind of, language of it. Like, I don't think it's important that we rank ourselves over and against other people. But I went to a church in college that was maybe 120, 130 people. And they said, our particular contribution to the kingdom of God is that there's a lot of people that are coming through the University of Illinois, and they're going to be in our church for 4 or 5 years, and we're going to send them out into greater kingdom fruitfulness. That's our contribution. And so I love that. That's a great vision. I'm the fruit of that vision, among other people. And so now, is every church called to do it that way? Well, no, but they were looking at their particular gifts, their particular location, their particular sense of like the burden God had put on their heart. And I think for them to flesh that out and to live that out is really great. Another church might say, hey, we're in a really strategic major metro area, and we want to create a number of gospel outposts, plant new churches so that, this highly underserved, underchurched community could, okay, great, do that. There's a million different specific ways that any church might live out the Great Commission. And, churches at best are really, unless revival breaks out, any one church is kind of great at kind of one or two things, right? You have churches that are real word churches, others that are real prayer churches, others that are real like mercy ministry churches, others that are great at, care for the poor. So it's just like all of that matters, but not every church is equally called to be all of those things to its community.
Yeah. And so clarifying this is actually what we're about might be a way of helping those that are involved to even know what to expect, or then even what to direct their limited energy towards. At this church, we're super into mercy ministries. And because of that, we're doing this, this, and this. And you can get involved here and here.
Yeah, and it even gives you the ability as a pastor to go, oh man, you have a huge heart for that. You know what? That is such a cool thing. But here's what you can do. You can help us get a little bit better at it, which would be really cool. Also, if you go, I need to be somewhere where like this is the main thing. Well, here's another church where that's their main thing. All of it's part of disciple making, and all of it is part of the kingdom of God. So we value all of it. But the vision is saying, here's how the disciple making mission, here's how we're trying to express that as a local church.